Right. And right now, we've talked about that buy side with Microsoft and the Copilot side, but there's also a significant build side right now, as so many companies are trying to figure out what to do with AI. And I think a very pragmatic perspective of this is NVIDIA's recent announcement saying that 20,000 startups are now using NVIDIA GPUs on some way, are somehow on the NVIDIA platform. And it just shows that beyond the hype, there are actual numbers showing there are a lot of companies putting their chips in and figuring out how to invest in AI at this point. Everybody wants to figure out how to build their own very targeted models and agents, and nobody wants to be left behind.
It's a staggering number on the one hand. I mean, I guess not surprising in that clearly there's just a bucketfuls of money being flooded into the market, and so there's. I was just talking to a CEO of a tech company yesterday, and her statement was, well, like, how can we not be, going full steam on AI? Everyone's asking about it. And what I told her is that, that's true, right? There's no question that it is it's going to be the first or second question you're going to get from a CIO today. What's your AI story? Because you have to have one. And yet most of the issues that the average CIO or the average enterprise IT organization is facing today may be enabled or aided through AI, but they're not an AI problem looking for an AI solution, right? And so I think the big challenge, that number was on the one hand unsurprising, on the other hand staggering, and slightly even concerning for me insofar as there's going to be so much hand waving. There's going to be so many people that are really not doing anything all that amazing or interesting, but it's because it's like, oh look, we have AI too. And so whether that's an established company, I think that's going to be really prevalent there. But certainly within even the startup community, some of these startups, I'm seeing it's like, well, how is this a business, right? I think you're going to talk about this a little bit later. This is a broad issue, right? What's a feature? What's a product? What's a business?
Right.
And I think that's part of the challenge. And I think for a CIO that it makes it challenging to sort of separate the wheat from the chaff on all this. And I think it just means we're going to have to be really, really cautious and ask the hard questions and really understand how much of this is in fact differentiated, and are we in fact creating new models or doing things that are truly going to move the ball forward, because otherwise you are going to run the risk of waking up a year from now and having 100 co-pilots and 10,000 models from 10,000 companies, and none of it's going to make sense.
Yes, although I work on data and AI on a strategic basis, my technical background is actually going in networking, IT projects, infrastructure projects. And when I go back to that background, I honestly think of AI as a set of workloads that threaten core infrastructure performance. And I think it's important for CIOs to think about AI from that production perspective and making sure they are able to have the infrastructure capacity to simply avoid having core applications and projects keep them from failing. That I see that as the real CIO goal in supporting AI. And I think that, for instance, Dell's recent announcement about their AI factory, being able to support edge workloads for AI and handling everything from network to the edge, of course, with the NVIDIA GPU in the middle, supporting AI, is an important piece of the puzzle. Of course, every major infrastructure player is going to come out with their bundle from an AI perspective, but I think it's important to be able to say, as a CIO, that you're going to be working with your vendor of choice, and that they're going to be able to help fill in the gaps as we have to look at increasing our storage and networking and compute, maybe by 20, 25, 30% over the next year to support even the smallest of AI projects.
Well, I think there's three sort of intersecting trends that the Dell and NVIDIA announcement sort of speak to, right? The first is that we are rapidly entering this space where we're now seriously asking, how do we start operationalizing this? How do we put this into production? How do we make it make sense? And that then leads to sort of the second big trend or issue that we're seeing, and that is that in doing that, we start to recognize that we have a risk factor if all these AI workloads are running exclusively in the cloud, which is what they have
Mhm.
mostly been doing. So right now, the issue you're talking about hasn't been a problem because it basically had no impact on us. It was out running someplace in the ether and it
Mhm.
didn't impact us. But as we start to operationalize, now we need to start asking where are we housing some of these workloads in house? And if so, what does that do? And particularly if we're trying to deploy them at the edge, either because of challenges with connectivity or because of security or compliance constraints,